There's no and there's another one. There's no seatbelt. One, two, three.
How many guys?
4.
You guys got B7 on the right?
B7.
How many?
2.
B6 on the left?
Okay.
B7. Right. How you guys doing? You want to sit up top or on the bottom?
Maybe in the bottom is better.
Sit better on the bottom.
Then I'll sit in the bottom. You want to make it okay. Alex,
Please stand clear of the closing doors. Good morning, Bronx Zoo Explorers, and welcome aboard the Wild Asia Monorail. My name is Steve, and I'll be your guide and driver today. Now, real important for your safety, folks, I ask that you please remain seated at all times during the ride, and kindly keep those hands, feet, antlers, and trunks inside the car. Now, in the rare case of emergency, there's an intercom located by the door where you can contact me. And without further ado, we are off on our safari today. Now, here at the Bronx Zoo, we are the headquarters of the Wildlife Conservation Society, or WCS for short. We have scientists and eco-guards working in the field and zookeepers here at home working to protect wildlife all over the world. Today, we'll be seeing animals from China to India, Cambodia to Nepal, and much more. And as we cross over the Bronx River here, we have now traveled more than 7,000 miles to Asia, as if by magic. Now, these guys here by the tracks are the black buck antelope. Black buck antelope are sexually dimorphic, meaning the males and females look different. The ones with the horns and the dark fur are the males, while the ones with the lighter fur are females. And over here underneath the trees are the Barasingha deer. You can see a lot more of them up at the top of the hill. Now, Barasingha means about 12 tined in the Hindi language, as the males can have 12 to 14 points on their antlers. Now, we have about 40 Barasingha deer here on the monorail. And if you look, we can see one of our fawns that was just recently born. And the newest member of our monorail family is the Bactrian deer. Those are the white deer standing at the top of the hill. Now, in 1999, there was only about 400 Bactrian deer left in the wild. But thanks to conservation efforts, those numbers are up to about 1,400 today. And if you look here, we can see another one of our Barasingha deer. See, they got quite a lot of points on those antlers. And these huts that we're passing next to the Barasingha deer actually represent a very interesting WCS conservation story.
Farmers in Indonesia live closely with wild animals, like elephants, which we will see shortly. WCS field staff work with local leaders and farmers in Indonesia to come up with the Crop Protection Unit. This unit created many different ways for farming to continue in close proximity of wild animals. One strategy was to soak ropes in chili powder and place them around the crops. Elephants do not like chili and leave the farms alone, allowing the farmer and the animals to share the habitat peacefully.
Now, we all know that an animal that is extinct no longer exists, like the dinosaur or the dodo bird. Now, we won't be seeing any T-Rexes here on the monorail today, but we will be seeing the Mongolian wild horse, also known as Przewalski's horse. Now, the Mongolian wild horse was on the verge of extinction. In fact, they were extinct in nature and could only be found in zoos for a time. But thanks to conservation efforts, they are making a comeback, and they've slowly been reintroduced to several areas of Mongolia and China. Now you may notice a few differences between the Mongolian wild horse and a domestic horse. For starters, the Mongolian wild horse has shorter legs and a stockier build. They also have an erect mane, which I like to think of as a horse mohawk. The Mongolian wild horse is also missing its forelock. That's the part of the mane that comes and hangs down over the forehead of a domestic horse. Now, our original herd of Mongolian wild horses arrived at the Bronx Zoo way back in 1902. Since then, we've had over 50 foals born here at the zoo to help with our conservation work. Of course, conservation work isn't simply just breeding animals, but it's also making sure they're well taken care of. As you can see, this is quite a large field here. It's very important to us here at the Bronx Zoo that all of our animals have plenty of room to run around, graze, frolic, and play. And now to tell us a little bit more about our conservation work, here's one of our field scientists.
I'm Jonathan Slatt, and I'm the Russia and Northeast Asia coordinator for the Wildlife Conservation Society. I believe that wildlife has a place on this earth. My job is to find practical solutions that allow people and wildlife to thrive together. There's Rybowski's horse went extinct in the wild in the 1960s. On a recent trip to Kazakhstan, I thought about the ongoing and successful efforts in that country to bring horses back to the Central Asian steppe. The world needs happy stories. Watch the impossible become possible and to see hope restored. That's what's happening today.
Coming up, we're looking for two animals, both currently listed as vulnerable. The first one we're going to see in the middle, they are very large, and that's going to be the gaur. Gaur are the largest wild cattle in the world, standing up to 6 feet tall and 10 feet long. They can also weigh up to 2,000 pounds, as much as a small car. With their large size and impressive horns, a gaur can fight off just about any predator. That includes even a tiger. And if you look in the middle, you can see one of our two calves that were just recently born in the last couple of weeks. To help with our breeding program, we just received two females and the male gaur from the San Diego Zoo. Now, gaur are vulnerable due to loss of habitat and diseases they can catch from domestic cattle. And the Bronx Zoo is one of only 4 zoos in America that take care of gaur. And if you look a little bit past the gaur in the back by the fence, you can see some of our brow antler deer. Now, brow antler deer get their name from the unique shape of their antlers, which curve up and bulge out of their head in the shape of large eyebrows. Now, they've lost their food source and habitat, and in recent years, the brow antler deer has had to resort to feeding on farmers' crops. Now, we'll get a better look at some of the brow antler deer in just a few minutes. But for now, you might hear noise coming from the concrete jungle rather than the Asian one. It's easy to forget that the Bronx Zoo sits at the heart of an urban environment. And at 265 acres, that makes the Bronx Zoo the largest urban zoo in the world. Now, the noise you hear is coming from traffic on the Bronx River Parkway running right behind us. And the traffic can be quite loud, so to help reduce the noise and to protect our animals, we've put up this fence that you see here in front of us. And that's good news for us, because the next animal we're on the lookout for is a tiger. So once again, for your safety, folks, I ask that you please remain seated. Now we're looking for Sakana, one of our female Malaysian tigers. If you don't see her right away, that's alright. Tiger stripes provide excellent camouflage, and even professional researchers have difficulty spotting tigers in the wild. But if you look straight down next to the tracks, you can see Suhana. Now in the wild, tigers eat a variety of animals, but their favorite are big and medium-sized deer. A tiger can eat up to 40 pounds of meat in one sitting. That's the equivalent of you or I eating 160 hamburgers. I don't know about you folks, I can only eat 130 myself. Now after a meal that size, the tiger typically won't eat again for several days. Now, once again, if you carefully look over the edge, you can see Suhana straight below us. And for now, we're passing back by the brow antler deer. You can see a couple of them poking their heads up over on the top right. And we're now in the back of the first meadow. If you look down here, you can see some of our peafowl, the national bird of India. Now the males are called peacocks, and the females are called peahens. The males will display those colorful feathers in order to attract a mate. And the offspring of the peafowl are called pea-chicks, and you can hear a few of them calling out in the distance. Now the peafowl also have free range here at the front zoo, so you may encounter a few more as you enjoy the rest of your day here. But for now, we're going to be rounding the bend and looking for our next animal. He likes to blend in with the rocks and mud, so he might be a bit tricky to spot. But if you see a pig with tusk growing up through its snout and curving back toward its eyes, then you've spotted our babirusa, which is native to the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. Now we're looking for Kenneth, who is right down here, sleeping next to the fence, so he's going to be a little hard to spot. On the other side is Linus. You can see Linus, he's over here on the right side, underneath the bush. Now, male babirussas will use those tusks in order to fend off rivals and assert dominance, in order to attract a mate. And if you think those tusks look a little like kangaroos, you're not alone. Babirusa actually means pig deer in the Malay language. But if you missed our babirusa, don't worry, I'm sure you'll spot our next animal. Now, this here is Happy, the Asian elephant. And on